Good morning, everyone. It is 9 o'clock on Tuesday, December 21st. So I will call the meeting to order. And the first item is we'll have Mallory do our roll call.
Councillor Clark,
Present.
Councillor Donaldson,
Present.
Deputy Mayor Kennedy,
Present.
Councillor McKechnie,
Present.
Councillor Smith,
Present.
Councillor Wood Roberts. Oh, she is here, but I don't know if she's busy at the moment.
We did have her signed on prior to the meeting, so I
We
would
did.
call her present,
Okay, and Mayor
in
Roberts
attendance.
is present.
and I'm present. Thank you.
Perfect.
As members of the public can see, some of our counselors have full-time jobs. Nancy is a nurse at our hospital, and we're very, very grateful for that. And she's worked triple duty lately. They are so short-staffed. So she will be in attendance in our meeting. But if she's called away, she'll let the clerk know. So with that, I'm going to read our land acknowledgement. We respectfully acknowledge that Dysart et al. Is located on the Treaty 20 Michi-Sagig territory and in the traditional territory of the Michi-Sagig Chippewa Nations, collectively known as the Williams Treaties First Nations, which include Curve Lake, Hiawatha, Alderville, Scugog Island, Rama, Osalé, and Georgina Island First Nations. These ancestral homes are more than a place where the Anishinaabe hunted, fished, gathered, and grew their food long before the settlers' arrival. Indigenous peoples cared for these lands and waters and have welcomed us as their guest. We pay them respect by ensuring we continue to recognize their ongoing connection to the area and by supporting the health and integrity of the lands and community for future generations to come. And with that, I will now look to see if there's any disclosure of pecuniary interest. Okay, seeing none, the first item we have is to adopt our agenda for today. So mover seconder, please. Councillor Clark and Deputy Mayor Kennedy. Be it resolved that the agenda for the regular meeting of the Council of the Municipality of Dysart et al. Held on December 21st, 2021 be approved as presented. All in favor? That's carried. We have 3 sets of minutes here from our regular council meeting of November 23rd, our public meeting November 23rd, and the special meeting of council on December 10th. Could I have a mover and a seconder for those minutes? Councillor Smith and Councillor McKechnie. Be it resolved that the council approves the following meeting minutes as circulated. I already said the date, so all in favor? Okay, and that's carried. Next, we have Mayor and Deputy Mayor's update. I really don't have much to update at this point. We're going to all hopefully take some rest and relaxation as we approach the Christmas holidays and the season. As we all know, the landscape is changing quickly yet again. Before we went live, I just said this is like a roller coaster, and we all thought the ride was coming to an end, and it clearly is not. So our EOC, our emergency control group, did meet again yesterday, even though we are not in the declaration. And we made some decisions regarding our arena and operations. And we do believe that this is a bit of a changing target. It can change daily with provincial regulations. So we will keep council and the public updated as much as we can. So really today, I'm just going to take this opportunity to wish each and every one of you on the screen, my fellow councillors, my colleagues, all the staff here at Dysart and the public, I wish you a Merry Christmas and happy holidays. Stay safe and stay well. Deputy Mayor Kennedy.
Hard to top that, Madam Mayor. So I'll just support that and wish everyone a happy and Merry Christmas and a safe one, everyone. And thanks for the year. Thank you.
Yes, and more patience is needed. We thought we were patient. We even need to dig a little deeper and be patient. So there we go. So now we're going to move into our meeting, and we have a delegation. We're going to bring in Melanie Ackerman and Nathan Walker, and also our planning department, I believe.
Hi, guys. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, good morning. Just going to wait till our director of planning. Oh, there he is. Jeff Isles pops in. So Jeff, do you want to start us off here, or are the Ackermans and the Walkers, Mr. Walker and Ms. Ackerman, going to go first?
I'm happy to start off. It's a pretty straightforward request. They're making application to purchase the shore road allowance in front of their property on Redstone Lake. They wish to rebuild their cottage. The dwelling's location is recognized pursuant to the official plan. There is an outhouse that does not appear to comply with the water setback, and it's unclear when it's constructed, even though it appears to be very old. So staff recommend a condition that outhouse be removed or brought into compliance. And it's worded in a way that if it does comply, it can remain where it is. And that's about it on staff's side.
Okay, so I'll turn it over to you. Go ahead.
To us. So we
Yes.
bought the cottage in May. We had been driving for about 6 years, and we bought it sight unseen with the current real estate conditions. So my mom was very quiet when we saw it. I was very optimistic and knew I wanted to be a part of it. So it was her bravery, basically. And so yeah, it's on big 14-foot stilts. So every time we get a warning from Hydro One saying there's severe weather, we're kind of like, how severe are we talking? But it's been up since about the 60s, I think. So we're hoping, we're by no means like incredibly well off, but we're hoping to build a cottage that we can bring friends and family to over the decades to come. I was fortunate enough to have a family cottage to go to every summer and had the best memories. And we are already in love with Redstone. So we're really just hoping to work with you guys to see what we can build. Like you said, the outhouse isn't compliant. So we're hoping to buy back the shoreline to kind of figure out where we can put a septic so we can get a better bathroom and better for the environment, that type of deal. So yeah, that's pretty much what we're going for.
Okay, well, congratulations on purchasing a cottage here in Dysart. It is a beautiful area, and Redstone's a very wonderful lake. So this is fairly common to purchase the shore road allowance, but it does mean then bringing things into compliance. I'm sure as some of the other counselors looked at the picture, they would that like camera angles can do funny things, but I think that those are very, very high piers, and
Yeah.
I would have concern there too. So I'll turn it over to counselors to see if there's any questions. If not, it is fairly straightforward to purchase the shore road allowance. So
Okay.
I see a thumbs up. I don't think there's any concern. You'll work with the planning department on how that goes. It's not quick. These things, so maybe Jeff can tell you offline a little bit about what to expect. Sometimes people think they'll purchase it and it's done in a fairly quick, but lawyers are also really busy as well. So it goes through that, and there's a calculation for the amount. So if there's no further questions and no further comment, good luck with everything. And we do have a resolution then to receive their delegation. Could I get a mover and a seconder for that? Councillor McKechnie and Councillor Smith.
Thank you very much. Merry Christmas, happy holidays.
Yeah, thank you, and Merry Christmas as well. I'll just read the resolution if you want to do before I leave meeting. So it was moved by Councillor McKechnie, seconded by Councillor Smith. Be it resolved, Council acknowledges receipt of the delegation from Melanie Ackerman and Nathan Walker regarding the application to purchase a portion of the shore road allowance along the shore of Redstone Lake in front of Ms. Ackerman's property. All in favor? Okay, and that's carried. There we go. Thank you and Merry Christmas to you, and best
Perfect.
of luck
Thanks,
with the
guys.
build.
Thank you.
There's a second resolution here, right? Yes, there is. So first, the receipt of the delegation, I asked delegates to leave, but there's a second resolution that approves for processing the application. The first was just to receive the delegation. So mover seconder, if I could. Councillor Smith and Deputy Mayor Kennedy. Be it resolved that council approves for processing an application by Ms. Ackerman to purchase a portion of the shore road allowance along the shore of Redstone Lake in front of her property, part lot 29, concession 10, lot 23, plan 388 in the geographic township of Guildford. As per section 3.2.7 of the official plan, the outhouse shall be removed or brought into compliance with the zoning bylaw 2005-120, and the lands are declared surplus. All in favor? That's carried. Yes, one big gust of wind might just topple those piers right down. Okay, well, next we'll move into the body of reports and recommendations from local agencies, and I'll just go around the table. So first up we have is the Harcourt Community Hall. Councillor Donaldson, anything happening there?
No, we haven't had a meeting since the last one, so I don't have anything to report.
Okay, and in terms of regulations and what's permitted and what's open in numbers, and if any of the people have concern, they can contact Andrea Mueller and go from there because they may have bookings in the new year and that can all change. Okay, West Guildford Hall Board, Councillor Smith.
Yeah, thank you. We met actually the day after our last council meeting or the week after, I guess, after the last council meeting. Nothing significant, further discussions and planning with respect to the outside sign. Just for the information we have to listening, I see every now and again a question. The outdoor rink at the West Guildford Recreation Center will not be able to open. It's not in appropriate condition. And as councillors know, an application has been made through the Ontario Trillium Fund for funding to rebuild a facility there, but we won't know until the new year whether or not that's been successful. And obviously we're going to be dependent upon Andrea Mueller, as you point out, to provide any advice. We do have the pickleball ongoing usage at the center. That's generally a small group, 4 to 8 people at a time. I think that's still permitted. And otherwise, there are no large events on the.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Smith. Next, we have Rails End Gallery and Arts Center. Councillor Clark.
Yes, we had a meeting last Thursday. With a break in the weather, that we were able to get the roof fixed, done, which was a great move forward. We had planned on budgeting that into next year because it didn't look like it was going to happen, but that's now out of this year's funds, which is so Lori will deal with Barb and Tamara. I think she'll have, there'll be some adjustment on the financial requirement for next year based on that. Other than that, the BIA was a success for the Rails End Gallery. They had the ukuleles entertaining, and apparently that drew quite a crowd. That was good. And they are doing some planning for the Arts and Crafts Festival, which is probably one of the biggest events in the area for next summer. Again, a little trepidation based on what we're seeing with COVID and that, but they're hopeful that things will enable a large outdoor activity by that point. But anyways, planning's in place, but with contingency. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And the roof looks fantastic. Lori also had posted a few videos and pictures, and that crew did a great job. And luckily, they did have good weather, so that roof ought to last many, many, many years. A steel roof like that, so that's great. They were neat and tidy too. Any questions for Councillor Clark? If not, there is a report or resolution rather to receive the report. Any mover seconder? Councillor Wood Roberts and Councillor Smith. Be it resolved that council acknowledges receipt of the December 2021 Rails End Gallery and Arts Center report. All in favor? Carried. I'm having difficulty speaking today. I don't know what's happening. I think I'm just a little bit tired. BIA, Councillor Wood Roberts, what's happening with that?
BIA have been, all the merchants have been very busy trying to promote sales in the business downtown area over these holidays. They had a very successful ladies' night. Santa Claus Parade was well attended and organized by the Lions Club, and a shout out to Jim Frost. That is his baby, and he just does better and better every year. Not a lot different going on. They appreciate the parking meters being covered to promote local shopping. The roads department's doing the best they can to keep the sidewalks and the snowbanks clear, and that's about it right now.
Okay, great. Yeah, the parade was wonderful, and I wasn't able to attend the ladies shopping night, but I know a lot of people did, and it was a big success. So that's great that they were able to fit those things in before things have changed here. So thanks for that. Councillor Clark, anything on Harvest Halliburton?
Yeah, we're continuing to do some planning for going forward. Some big issues around how we can support small local farmers. So we're seeing agriculture in the area is changing a bit, and we're finding that there's some challenges on how, let's say, the Ontario Farmers Market Association, for example, frames who can attend and who can't. So that's all stuff we're researching and hoping to have things kind of cleared up before spring, things that go in the spring. So yeah, there's work ongoing there, and I'll keep you posted.
Okay, thank you very much for that. And the next three, source protection and the Trent management, anything, those two? No, and nothing on the bioenergy. Okay, recommendations from the committee of the whole. The recommendations are in there and the resolution was included in our package. So I'll just look to see if there's any comments or questions there. And if not, I'll look for mover seconder. Deputy Mayor Kennedy and Councillor Clark. Be resolved that the recommendations from the December 7th, 2021 meeting of the Dysart et al. Committee of the Whole be adopted by council. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. And we're going to bring in Rob Camelon for a discussion on the resurfacing contract extension. Just wait a sec till Rob pops his face in. There he is. Okay, Rob, I'm going to turn right over to you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Good morning, Council. So here we have a pretty big piece of the puzzle for the 2022 budget. I'm sure it's going to garner some conversation, but basically the contract we released last year had a provision in it that if both sides were agreeable, that we could extend the 2021 pricing into 2022. So we have received interest from the Miller Paving Limited to do so. They didn't know any scope of work when they expressed their interest. I did speak with them. I told them basically it would be the same volume that was released last year, which they were glad to hear, but they have not seen the specifics. So that's something that we are going to have to discuss with them. I don't anticipate any issues on their side for extending. I do think it's a good idea to extend on our side, just given what costs are doing as of late. If we go back out, I'm pretty confident that we're going to see increased costs on this. So there was a caveat in the recommendation that council agreed to extend the contract pricing in principle and subject to amended agreement. I did have some issues with the way some of the work was done last year, and I'm sure some of you may have heard it too, that some of the gravel roads were left open far too long before they received surface. So I want to change that in next year's agreement to give them defined timelines. So if they pulverize a road, maximum 2 weeks, it has to be resurfaced, something to that effect. I have spoken with them on that. They are aware of my concerns. In their defense, well, rightfully so, they did maintain the gravel roads as they were in that state on their own dime. So we did not incur any costs on the maintenance of those roads, but say it was an inconvenience for certainly myself, the contractor, and the ratepayers of that road. So just when we do a new agreement, if we do a new agreement, I will be putting new timelines in that agreement for 2022. What is not in here is any candidates for upgrading back to surface treatment from gravel. I've attached that report as a part of this one. The next upgrading will be next year to the tune of about $200,000. And I believe that's Sandpoint and Redstone Lake Road, perhaps. Yes, Redstone Lake Road. So you've all had a chance to read that, and I'd be glad to take any questions at this point.
Okay, well, thank you for bringing this forward at this time. Yes, I do think there was what happens when that time lapse between where they pulverize and resurface. If there's dips and it's not smooth, then when they go to put the surface treatment on, it's following the ridges of the gravel. So I think that's what happened on one road I can think of in particular. So that's great to add that in. I'm going to open it up to the floor for comments, questions to Rob. I see Councillor Clark first. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you for that, Madam Mayor. Rob, that looks good. I would imagine a lot of this aligns with your software you've been getting going, for the planning. Any outliers that you've had to bring in because because of weather conditions or things have degraded a road where you had to include it that was outside your asset management plan?
No, not at this point. The only ones that we had forced to trigger next year would be the Boomerang and Winklers and Eastview as well. So we had talked about them last year. So they were postponed last year. So they are included there. So that's the only thing that I told the software to actually make sure it gets done this year, and it came up with the rest.
Good question, Councillor Clark. Councillor Smith next.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. So Rob, so you mentioned you're pretty confident pricing would be higher if you did another tender. Have you seen any data in other municipalities to kind of support that perspective, or it's just a hunch?
No, it's just a hunch at this point. We are approaching tender season, so I'm assuming in January we'll start to see some tenders be let out. So maybe the end of January, start of February, we'll see some pricing come back in. But I just, we secured some pretty decent pricing last year compared to the number 2 on the tender. So just based on that, the increased cost of everything else, certainly the price of fuel, I think the prices are only going up for 2022.
Okay, thank you. If I might, the second question, Madam
Go ahead.
Mayor.
Yep.
Rob, Nyla Road was one that Miller acknowledged afterwards that there'd been an equipment problem, probably affected both Nyla Road and Marigold that were done at the same time. And so will your new agreement have the repairs of those roads included? Is that something that they're locked into?
They're locked into it because it does fall under the warranty period. So it doesn't necessarily need to be a part of the new agreement. It would fall under the old agreement.
Okay, thank you. And one additional question, if I might.
Yeah.
Rob, when you look at the numbers here, there's about 10 kilometers of the double surface treatment. That's the hard top, and there's also 1.9 kilometers of a double surface treatment overlay. That's a pretty small proportion of our 200 kilometers of hard surface road. And so are we keeping up, with the required maintenance in order to maintain, the targets that council set in terms of average road conditions?
So far, yes. We have a very small sample size, admittedly, but I'm confident in the data. I think we're headed in the right direction. And I think with this software, we're going to trigger a maybe not so much a double surface treatment overlay, but maybe a single in lieu of slurry seal to seal these roads up and keep them sealed. You'll notice there are no single surface treatment overlays this year. And the reason that happened is the price difference between a double and a single was so slight that it would favor the double surface treatment to get that extended life out of the road. So it wasn't recommending any singles this year, strictly for that reason.
Thank you.
That's great. Good questions, Councillor Smith. I see Councillor McKechnie, just one sec. The other thing that I've thought about too in this pricing is important because you go back out, we are running that risk. But the other thing is work done in a timely fashion. And it really helps with just general operations for our own road staff to go in and get those areas ready, et cetera. And just the security. So there's something to be said for renewing a contract that, we know what we're doing, Miller's knows what they're doing. Rob, do you want to answer that? And then we'll go to Councillor McKechnie.
Yeah, I just want to follow up that, this is very much a fluid situation. It's very difficult to forecast 10 years out, certainly even 5, 4, or 3. This year, I think we're very fortunate in that we're securing pricing with a 0% increase, when inflation is between 4 and 5% at this point. On top of that, we've committed an extra 3.5% to our capital works, which is fantastic news for us. If we keep maintaining that 3.5%, that's all good and fine until inflation matches and beats that. And then we're going to start to lose a bit of traction. So it is something we're gonna have to keep an eye on, but for now, I'm very happy with where we are.
That's great. Councillor McKechnie, go ahead.
Thank you. This is kind of my wish list. Klondike has been talked about over the years about being resurfaced, and I know that I've already had some inquiries about that. It's being re-gravelled, and hopefully it's going to be re-ditched. I don't think that's request is going to go away, so I'm just bringing that to your attention, Rob. Also, the West Bay landfill site, the road going into it needs some of our attention, I've been told. It's quite rough. And also at Halliburton Lake Road and Shirley, there's a grade problem there where the water, when it rains a lot, the water runs behind the store and down one of their driveways there and into their work shed. So if that could be addressed sometime in the near future or spring, like maybe it won't happen now till the spring, but it's definitely an issue. Also, something that's been talked about in the past, Dignan up into the new subdivision, there's about 500 feet there. If someday that could be put on the radar to be addressed. I know we talked at great length a few years at another council about that, but it's been brought to my attention again. And also Angel is being re-gravelled this year, and I'm just being asked if that's the future to be resurfaced. And thanks very much for your time.
Okay, thank you, Councillor McKechnie. I think, we made a decision as council in terms of the roads that would be included that were taken from gravel or that had a hard top on it and then taken back to gravel, but they had to meet a certain criteria. So I don't like both Klondike and Angel would not qualify for that as their traffic count is below the limit that we sort of determined. So I know that's not the news that the people on those areas want to hear, but we have to have some guidelines and, you see how far the dollars go and it's never enough, but we do our best. Any other questions to Rob? Or are we supportive? Do we have a mover and a seconder to support this? So Councillor Smith and Deputy Mayor Kennedy?
Yeah.
I'm happy to move that and
Oh, no, for the question?
after we vote, I wanted to ask Rob another question before he gets
Certainly.
away.
Okay,
thank you.
yep, that's good. Good. Thank you for letting me know. So that was Councillor McKechnie and Deputy Mayor Kennedy. Excuse me. Be it resolved that council receive and acknowledge this report concerning the 2021 road resurfacing contract extension as information, and the council received correspondence from Miller Paving Limited expressing an interest to extend the contract pricing indicated in RFT 2021-PW-08 into 2022. And the council agreed to extend contract pricing from RFT 2021-PW-08 in principle and subject to an amended agreement, and that council approve the work proposed in this report to form part of the 2022 agreement and that the work be included in the 2022 budget. All in favor? Okay, so that has passed. Go ahead with your question.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. I had corresponded with you by email with respect to clearance of the, I'll call it sidewalk in West Guildford. And I just wanted to confirm, have Rob confirm with council here that asphalted sidewalk area between, heading north from the bridge is a county responsibility to clear the snow. Is that correct, Rob?
It is. They are the owner of that. It's up to them to clear it. But it would be my understanding that the only reason it's there is for snow storage. And I would expect they only clear it when they run out of snow storage.
So that would say it's really not a walking path. Then it's an area with the retaining wall that's there for really holding snow as they plow it off the road.
Yes.
It's not a sidewalk.
That's my
it's a
take on
paved
it.
shoulder.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a paved shoulder and there's a huge difference in the correspondence we had by email. I did the level of service to what's called a sidewalk to a paved shoulder on a county road is completely different. And while I understand people want to walk on the paved shoulder and do walk on the paved shoulder or ride their bikes, etc., it would greatly change our level of service.
Thank you.
Okay.
Would it be appropriate to discuss that further now in terms of upgrading the walking path, or would that be, well, Rob is still here, or would that be something you'd prefer to wait under a notice of motion as part of new business?
Why not bring it back? Because then Rob would have an opportunity to have a report to it, to just bring it up today. So when we finish the meeting, you can bring it up notice of motion, and not necessarily just there, wherever. I think we have to look at, sometimes we see little pockets and say, oh, this is a little situation here, but we have to look at what is a paved shoulder on a county road in general. What does that mean, and what is our level? So Rob would be, if you do that, Rob would be able to have an opportunity to bring back a report, and we'd have further discussion. I think that's the best idea. Thanks for asking. Okay, great. So that's it, Rob. Okay, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Yeah. And so where are we? Administration. So first up, we have a letter from Cindy Baumhauer to council. That was included in our package. I don't know if any staff are going to be speaking to this, Mallory? No, the letter's there just to receive?
It's to receive, and based on our discussions at budget last, this might be part of the discussions anyway. So I think there's two conversations going on the line. So for now we can receive, and this conversation's happening at budget anyway.
I think that's a good idea. So we'll just receive the letter, and for any counselors that want to have that discussion, because there's actually several landfills. It's not just in Ward 3 that she's making a recommendation. So let's just receive that today, and we'll hold that to our January budget meeting for discussion. Mover seconder, if I could then. Councillor Donaldson and Councillor Smith. Be it resolved that council acknowledges receipt of the letter from Harcourt resident Cindy Baumhauer regarding the recent reduction in winter hours at the Harcourt landfill. All in favor? Okay, that's received. Thank you. Passed. The Community Climate Action Plan Advisory Group appointment. So there's an email there from Corey McKay. What happened in that discussion was, I had been under the impression that when she came to council and was looking for a Dysart rep, and even under the terms of reference, it meant a municipal councillor. We don't have an environmental committee anymore. However, that environment is part of the committee of the whole. Councillor Smith reached out to me, and I said, that's great. Then we found out from Corey that he had to apply. So there was a little confusion, and all of county council thought a little confusion. So we've actually gone to what we initially interpreted, is that there'll be an appointment from a member of council from each municipality on the climate action plan. So, so I'm going to turn to Councillor Smith to see if you're still interested in serving on that.
Certainly, I'd be happy to serve on that on behalf of Dysart Council.
Okay, and just for openness, was there anyone else? I hadn't heard by email after Corey's thing, but was there any other counselor? So if not, I'll put your name in the blank spot, and I'll look for a mover and a seconder to appoint you to serve. If I could, Deputy Mayor Kennedy, and seconded by Councillor Wood Roberts. Thank you, Councillor Smith, for doing that.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah, we just, the main purpose of that is that we felt that there would be better communication if it was a member of the public, of which there's, if you see the terms of reference for this Climate Action Plan Committee, there's all kinds of opportunities for people of different groups, a member of the business, a member of the environment committee. There were many people that did apply. There'll be good representation across the county, but this will help the flow of communication so that if you want to bring something forward back, once they meet, you'll be able to do a report there. So moved by Deputy Mayor Kennedy, seconded by Councillor Wood Roberts, be it resolved that council recommends the appointment of Councillor Smith to serve as the Dysart et al. Representative on the Community Climate Action Plan Advisory Group. All in favor? Okay, that's carried. Next, we have a bunch of bylaws. So we should be able to flow through these fairly quickly. We've already had discussion on them, so I'm just going to look for movers and seconders on these. Anybody? Councillor Wood Roberts, Councillor McKechnie. Be it resolved that bylaw 2021-90, being a bylaw to adopt an emergency management program and emergency response plan, be read a first, second, and third time, passed, signed, and the corporate seal attached here too. All in favor? Carried. Next is Lands of Soap Pond. Look for a mover and a seconder. Counselor Smith, seconded by Counselor Donaldson.
I had a question on that, if I might, before we vote on it.
Absolutely. Go ahead.
As counselors are aware, and I think staff's also aware, there is an encroachment bylaw concern with respect to the property, and you know, a request had come from the Lake Association that that the municipality address that encroachment bylaw potential violation prior to the transfer occurring. And obviously, you know, the municipality with its bylaw enforcement officer and its authority there would be better positioned to address the concern than a lake association that would, you know, only has volunteers, would need to retain legal counsel and you know, go through quite a process trying to address you know, what I'll call a pretty significant violation. Having walked this public lands myself, there's you know, a small bulldozer has been in there and created a trail that's probably you know, 8 feet wide through the bush. It's not a walking trail, and property that is still owned by Dysart. And as I said, it seems like it's a clear violation of our encroachment bylaw.
Counselor Smith, I'm going to just turn it over to Mallory if I can. Mallory, sorry to put you on the spot, but is there not a way to transfer the land? And as a municipality, if there was an encroachment anywhere on anything, okay, Tamara's going to speak to it. We still, the new owners, which will be the Conesus Lake Association, could they not call our bylaw officer and we could enact on that? Why would that slow down this resolution? So Tamara, did you want to speak first to that?
Well, basically the advice that was given was because the transfer's in process and this could potentially slow down the process here, is that once the property is transferred, that the Lake Association could mark it in terms of where the property boundaries are, and then they can enforce trespass themselves.
And if there is, I don't know if it's an encroachment or trespass, can they not put up signs or? Like, I don't see why we'd need to slow this down. That's all. Counselor Smith, I understand that that's happening up there, but
well, I don't think that the municipality has a role between when a dispute occurs between two private owners. You know, the encroachment bylaw deals with trespassing or, you know, in this case, modifications to publicly owned lands. But the encroachment bylaw, if my neighbor decides to, you know, build a trail on my property, you know, the municipality is not going to do anything about that. I need to retain my own legal counsel and, you know, manage that dispute myself. While the municipality owns the property, the bylaw officer could, you know, could write a letter to the neighboring owner and say, look, that's public land. You're not allowed to do that. In fact, this correspondence from the Lake Association suggested there should be some consequences for this abuse of public lands.
okay, Mallory?
I just have a question. I'm not sure, Councillor Smith, if you know the answer to this. Do you know when the trails were constructed? The dirt bike trails?
Well, I can't say exactly based on complaints that came to me, you know, this summer. I would say it's in the past year. In fact, you know, there's certainly some modifications, you know, that have been made, I'm going to say in October,
right,
based on the freshness of the new earth that had been dumped into this, you know, public property. You know, it's not been there for years. And the same with the removal of earth by a bulldozer and the damage to tree roots. That didn't occur 3 years ago. That would have occurred during the summer of 2021.
Okay. It's unfortunate timing because council did agree to transfer this property in February of this year. So, and then obviously these took place when we were waiting for an answer from the Kinesis Lake Cottage Owners Association. I know they had to get their stuff in order for the transfer to be completed. And now they are ready to proceed with the transfer. The timing is just unfortunate because this file has been open for so long. And we would like to get the transfer complete. It is up to council and what how they want to proceed. If they want to hold off and hold on to the lands until it's kind of cleaned up on our end before we transfer it, it is up to council. If it is private, it's not encroachment anymore, it's trespassing. So it would be a civil matter between the two. They might need to determine as well the boundaries of their lot in order to know where the encroachment even starts, right? Because they might need a survey of the area. So again, I'll leave it to council, but that's unfortunate because again, this is going back to February of this year. That council agreed to transfer.
Yeah. Councillor McKechnie?
Thank you. No, I was just wondering, so the Kinesis Lake Association, what are the, what is the appropriate usage of this land then going to be? The people who built the trail, would they be members of the Lake Association? And how are you going to control that if you've got 600 or 1,000 association members, and some people want a dirt bike and some people want to walk or snowmobile? I'm just wondering, are we going to be getting called every weekend? If it's just a walking trail and somebody's out there in a snowmobile, or just curious.
Councillor Smith, did you want to answer that?
Well, I'll address it as best I can. Obviously, once the transfer takes place, it'll be up to the Lake Association to police activities on it, just as the Lake Association polices activities on other property that it owns. But this land came into Dysart's ownership because it was designated environmentally sensitive, and there was to be no development on this property. And this is not a trail that could be accessed by the public in terms of getting a dirt bike or ATV or snowmobile onto it without crossing private property. So, this is a trail that has been established for the use of a single property owner. That's the neighbor, and that's what is so offensive about it. There's not a case here. It's not a case of a trail that might creep, 8 or 10 or 12 feet onto public lands. This is a trail that goes hundreds of meters onto publicly owned property, and that's what the Lake Association finds so concerning about it, that this damage could be done to public property, and there not appear to be any consequences or any enforcement by Dysart. Obviously council can pass a bylaw, but for the transfer to occur, the Lake Association is going to have to, have a lawyer on their side and have acceptance of the transfer. The transfer was initially proposed because Dysart was challenged. Given much of the property is water access only, Dysart was challenged to, oversee it. And the Lake Association agreed to take on that responsibility as part of owning the property. It was simply a request, as you saw by their email, saying, could the municipality and its bylaw enforcement officer advise the neighbor that there's been an inappropriate activity, and as they noted in their bylaw, or in their email rather, would it not be appropriate, given our encroachment bylaw, to potentially have a penalty or actually demand some restoration of the damage that has taken place?
Okay, so I'll turn to Councillor Wood Roberts on this. Go ahead.
Well, originally, I believe we agreed to transfer this land to them because we don't have the resources to do all this enforcement that is somehow expected. So I would move toward just voting yes or no. Are we going to dispose of them if the Cottage Association still wants to have them or not?
Okay, one thing I'm thinking, and Councillor Smith, I hear everything you're saying, and we did receive an email from Mr. Prince. If we pass the bylaw now, it doesn't necessarily mean the transfer is going to go forward. This is in front of us. We did have a mover and seconder. We can pass this at our end. They don't have to. Something can happen in the new year where they decline the transfer, or. But I'd rather not hold up this resolution. It can move it forward from our side, and we'll go from there and have communication with them perhaps in the new year. Councillor McKechnie?
Yeah, I just like to know, what is the majority of the Cottage Association members, what usage do they want for the land? Is it just going to be?
Protect it, just to have
So
it as,
basically there's a fence around it. Nobody's allowed to walk on it. Nobody's allowed to go for a bike ride. Nobody's allowed to do anything on it. Is
I
that
think
what
it's water access mostly. That's the issue. So I'm going to look to, I did get someone to move and seconded. Councillor Smith, did you want to speak a different point?
Well, I have no objection to passing the the proposed bylaw today. I would ask council request that staff act on the violation that's occurred. If violations are reported elsewhere in our community, presumably a result of that kind of complaint, the bylaw officer would make a visit. If there's a complaint about property standards, for example, or if there was a complaint that somebody had taken a bulldozer to another piece of public property elsewhere in our community, it's a reasonable expectation the bylaw officer would say, well, wait a second, I need to take a look at this, and where the the offending owner is clearly apparent, address that. And so we could pass this bylaw today, and as has been noted, the county or the municipality still owns the property. The bylaw officer could visit the site, this afternoon, and say, yeah, there's a problem here, and and I'll write a letter to the owner who has taken possession, if you like, of public property.
I'm just going to look to staff, to Mallory or Tamara. We don't have that in a resolution. Tamara?
Well, one thing, they can't go out to this afternoon because we don't have any staff left till the new year right now. But I think that comes down to the whole question, is council wanting to continue to enforce it? It's staff resources we don't have. We probably have to do a survey to take it anywhere. It's up to council's direction. We'll do what you would like done.
Even without a survey to know the exact line, it's clear that and if we know for certain it's the one neighbor to the one side who's taking advantage of public lands right now. So I don't see any harm in asking the bylaw officer in the new year to investigate it and still pass this bylaw. So.
And I've offered to accompany the bylaw officer. I mean, this is not, as I said, it's not 8 or 10 or 12 feet. Unless this private property next door suddenly thinks it's tripled or quadrupled in size, it hasn't happened. And we know how wide the private lot is next door. There is a clearly visible survey stake on the far side of the private lot. Anybody could pace off at an approximate distance and say, "Oh wow, this is shocking, the degree of encroachment."
Okay, so I do have a mover and seconder for this bylaw, and is there a desire for the municipality to ask staff to act on the encroachment issue in the new year? Just show of nod. Yes, so there is. So we'll ask staff, okay? So the mover was Councillor Smith and the seconded was Councillor Donaldson. Be it resolved that bylaw 2021-91 being a bylaw to provide for the disposition of part lot 7 and 8, concession 12, and further described as part 1, 19R-7397 in the geographic township of Guildford, municipality of Dysart et al., Soap Pond Lands be read a first, second, and third time, passed, signed, and the corporate seal attached here too. All in favor? So that's carried. Keep in mind, and we can be in discussion with the Lake Association, that enforcement of this nature might take some time. And so we can begin the process, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's all going to be finished, and we'll see what the new year brings on this one. Okay, so next one is a bylaw for fees and charges for the Evergreen Cemetery. Can I just have a mover, seconder for that, please? Councillor Clark, seconded by Councillor Smith. Be it resolved, the bylaw 2021-92, being a bylaw to impose fees and charges for the Evergreen Cemetery effective January 1st, 2022, be read a first, second, and third time, passed, signed, and the corporate seal attached here too. All in favor? Get carried. The insurance claim handling policy. If I could have mover and seconder for this. Councillor McKechnie and Councillor Wood Roberts. Be it resolved, the council adopts policy number 67, insurance claim handling policy, as written. All in favor? Okay, carried. And notice of proposed amendments to the procedural bylaw. We went through that last meeting. Changes to meeting dates. So a mover and a seconder, if I could. Councillor Clark, seconded by Councillor Smith. Be it resolved that council hereby gives notice that the proposed amendments to the procedural bylaw will be considered at the January 25th, 2022 meeting of council. Oh, so we're not passing the bylaw. It's that the bylaw will come to the January 25th meeting, correct? This is the giving notice, right? Okay.
This is giving,
But
yeah.
this is giving notice in the actual bylaw. Okay, so all in favor? That's carried. And lastly, in 2022 insurance renewal. Councillor Smith? So moving or question?
I'm happy to move. I had a question.
Yep,
with
I'll take you as
respect to
mover
the,
and go ahead.
The report indicates that there's a premium increase here of $38,000, 13% of our insurance bill. Goes on to provide some details. It's really the general liability that represents 32,000 of this $38,000 premium increase. And my own insurance company, when I got a notice about the price increase, they said to me, you might look at your deductibles. As an individual, I concluded that $5,000 is not an unreasonable deductible. I think, and Barbara can maybe confirm this, that our deductible as a municipality is $10,000. Does that apply also to the liability risk?
So
the
actually,
$10,000?
So the deductible for general liability is $25,000, and for property and automobile is $10,000 per claim.
Okay.
So staff actually reviewed the deductibles with the renewal in 2021, and it was determined the cost savings to increase deductibles did not really provide any great benefits. So in 2021, we did increase the premium, the deductible on the general liability to $25,000. Historically, it was $10,000.
And so what would the premium be if we increase that liability further?
So I don't have those numbers ahead of me at the moment here, but again, staff did review that and determined that it was not benefit to move forward to increase the deductibles for the potential cost savings in premiums.
Thank
So
you.
Councillor Smith, I think we did change our deductibles as I remembered from last year. And so as an example, if we went to say a 50,000 deductible, but we had 2 claims, that would take years to recoup the cost savings. So it's not, good question, a good question on our own personal insurance and because, one little ding on a vehicle, a paint scratch is $2,500. So good question, but I think we're in good hands, and this is the insurance industry is, yeah, I won't say anymore. So I did have it moved. Did you have a further question?
There's a provision in our policy or a line item there in the report that refers to low risk event coverage. What is that about?
So this is something new this year that staff is proposing, and this is for facility users and event liabilities. Basically, if we do have a rental of any of our facilities here, and if the event is not under the care and control of the municipality, then these event users should be purchasing insurance to cover the liability of that event there. So this here is a premium for the low risk event coverage. And the idea here would be to get some cost recovery on that. The municipality would sell the insurance coverage, whether it's per season, if it's an organized hockey group, or on a per event basis if it's a one-time. It is quite common that municipalities do offer this type of insurance to user groups.
Tamara?
I was just going to say the same thing, that the other local municipalities do provide for this as well, because it does make it easier for the smaller groups to make sure they have adequate coverage.
So is
Councillor,
this?
Councillor Clark had his hand. You can go after Councillor Smith.
Yeah, this has been an issue with some of the other townships where they don't have this. Even the smallest event becomes a huge issue for even like groups like Rotary trying to do something in the, for a July 1st event becomes an obstacle. So this is important that we have this in place.
Okay. So Councillor Smith, I did have you as moving that. Could I have a seconder? Oh, sorry, Councillor Smith, did you have a further question? I did.
Just one further question then, Barbara, with respect to this is a new coverage for us. Are we going to then offer to sell this? Like, is this something that you mentioned, a hockey team, an adult hockey team, for example, would they pay an extra fee to have this coverage apply to their use of our facility? Or is it something that is just been added to as a benefit without them incurring any of the expenses, just all the expenses borne by taxpayers?
So the idea is to include this as part of the online booking with our software here, that if you're going to book for a season, as an example of ice time at the arena here, that it would be included as part of the cost of the booking. So there will be some cost recovery there. And that would apply for, a group that's renting the, perhaps the community center to carry out a program. And if they don't provide insurance, they have the ability to purchase that through the municipality. So the idea is to get some cost recovery directly at the time of booking the event as well. So you would pay for the space, which is X number of dollars, plus a nominal fee for the insurance. And it is very manageable. It's not a huge premium. We like to keep the costs low, and that is the advantage of this type of insurance here. We're able to offer that to the user groups and make it more attractive for some of these groups to be able to hold events, rather than make it unattractive when we get to the insurance question. And if they have to go purchase it themselves, sometimes it's costly, and therefore the event is not really viable for them to to host in our community.
Okay,
Okay.
thank
All
you
right.
for that answer.
So that's excellent. And this is going to be new for 2022 because, as you said, we didn't have this previously. And it's easy to administer because of the online booking system. And you will then communicate with, and I'll use the West Guildford Recreation Center as an example with pickleball. You will communicate that to the, the head of the volunteer association there, so that they could potentially, offer that to the pickleball groups to take that risk away from the municipality. Is that fair?
That would be fair. We do encourage these rentals to go through the booking software, and that would help to administrate it.
Okay, good questions. Seconder, please. Councillor Clark. Be it resolved that council accepts the municipal insurance program renewal proposal from Marsh Canada Limited effective January 1st, 2022 to January 1st, 2023. All in favor? Okay, that's carried. We have, the next up is planning, of which we have a lot, although lots of them are shore road allowances and shouldn't take too much time. I'm going to look to see, and then after that, we just have two small minutes from our committee of the whole and the Glebe Park. I'm thinking maybe we take a 15-minute break. I know it's a little bit early. Okay, I see a nod. Why not? So let's call recess and we'll reconvene at 10:15 and get through planning. Okay, see you in 15 minutes. Okay, so we are back from our recess and we have a fairly lengthy planning section. However, most of them are fairly straightforward. So it looks like a lot. It was a lot for the planning department, but for us, shouldn't be too difficult. So Jeff, I'm going to turn it over to you for the first file.
Thank you and good morning. Bylaw 2021-93 is a bylaw to close and convey the shore road allowance in front of the lands of DeVries on Farquhar Lake. As per council direction, the development on the property has been brought into compliance through the minor variance process. The County of Haliburton did submit comments outlining that there is a portion of unevaluated wetlands on the subject property. Furthermore, they note that the subject lands may be an area of archaeological potential and further advise the applicants of the existing shoreline tree preservation bylaw. Staff will provide a copy of the county's letter to the applicant. And other than that, staff recommend approval of the bylaw.
Okay, any questions? Pretty straightforward. So I'll look for a mover and a seconder. Councillor Wood Robertson, Deputy Mayor Kennedy. Be it resolved that bylaw 2021-93, which is a bylaw to stop up, close, and convey a portion of the original shore road allowance in front of part lot 3 and 4, concession 1, in the geographic township of Harcourt, be read a first, second, and third time, passed, signed, and the corporate seal attached thereto. All in favor? Okay, so that's carried. We'll move right along.
Yeah, the second application is another bylaw. It's bylaw 2021-94 is a bylaw to close and convey the shore road allowance in front of the lands of Cox on Redstone Lake. The county submitted comments on this application as well, outlining that the subject lands have a portion of unevaluated wetlands on the property, as well as advising them of the shoreline tree preservation bylaw. Staff will provide a copy of this letter to the applicants. And again, other than that, staff recommend approval of the bylaw.
Okay, questions or comments? Mover, seconder, please. Counselor Clark and Counselor Smith. Be it resolved that bylaw 2021-94, which is a bylaw to stop up, close, and convey a portion of the original Shore Road allowance in front of Part Lot 30, Concession 7 in the geographic township of Guilford, be read a first, second, and third time, passed, signed, and the corporate seal attached thereto. All in favor? Okay, carried. And same thing for Lands of Joseph.
Yes, one more bylaw. Bylaw 2021-95 is a bylaw to convey the shore road allowance in front of the Lands of Joseph on Kashagawigamog Lake. The notice requirements have been completed and no concerns have been identified. As per council direction, the canoe / kayak shelter down by the shoreline was brought into compliance with the zoning bylaw, and staff recommend approval of this bylaw as well.
Okay, I'll just look for a mover and a seconder. Deputy Mayor Kennedy and Councillor Smith. It resolved that bylaw 2021-95, which is a bylaw to stop up, close, and convey a portion of the original Shore Road allowance in front of Lot 5, Concession 7 in the geographic township of Dysart, be read a first, second, and third time, passed, signed, and the corporate seal attached thereto. All in favor? Carried. Now, applications to purchase. No, yes, applications. Benoit.
Yes, thank you. Moving on to some new proposals. The first one, Mr. and Mrs. Vianot have made an application to purchase the Shore Road allowance in front of their property on Kinesis Lake. As per the survey, there are 2 sheds located on the Shore Road allowance. In addition, there's a dock, a deck, and a fire pit that are encroaching across the proposed lot line as it projects through the Shore Road allowance. Staff recommend that the sheds, deck, dock, and fire pit be removed or brought into compliance. And actually, the applicants have already started to rectify the issues and have provided an update. They've notified staff that one of the sheds has already been removed. They continue to work with the bylaw enforcement department to bring the remainder of these issues into compliance. Staff request direction with regards to the compliance issues and encroachment issues and approval to process the application.
Any questions on this one? Thank goodness for surveys to show where lot lines really are, not where you think they are. Councillor Smith?
Yeah, I just thank you, Madam Mayor. Just to confirm, Jeff, the issues here with the with the fire pit and the dock and the deck are not about them being located in the width of the shoreline road allowance, but rather that they're on the neighbor's shoreline road allowance, if you like, or at least partially on the neighbor's shoreline road allowance. Is that correct?
Correct. So the fire pit appears to belong to the applicant. However, the deck and the dock appear to belong to the neighbor to the applicant. So, and they've been working together to remove these before this proceeds.
Yeah, and these neighbors are, I'll say collaborative, working together on this. It's just been a lack of a survey in the past that it sounds like, it appears rather from the map, that not only is the applicant here got an issue, but the neighbor has an issue because their similar structures are too far to the other side of the property, and in fact, probably infringing on their neighbors, boundary lines. So it's a case of a lack of adequate survey stakes historically on these, older properties. Is that fair?
Yeah, that's correct. And believe it or not, it's quite a common issue on some of these lakes. Once you get the surveys, you realize everybody's not quite sure where their lot lines are, but it gives us a chance to clean it up before we move forward.
And it sounds like the folks are actively engaged in trying to do the right thing. So it's all very good. Thank you very much.
Yes, that's why I referenced, thank goodness for surveys. So many older lots of people planted a few trees and next thing you know, oh, the tree line's the lot line. No, it's not. I just planted a tree there or something. So you never know why. And sometimes people see a straight line down, but really it's an angle. You can see here it's on an angle. Anyway, yes, you say everybody's getting along, neighbors getting along. Good news. So mover and a seconder. Councillor Smith and seconded by Deputy Mayor Kennedy. Be it resolved that council approves for processing an application by Mr. and Mrs. Veno, sorry for the pronunciation, to purchase a portion of the shore road allowance along the shore of Kinesis Lake in front of their property, part lot 11, concession 2, in the geographic township of Havelock. As per section 3.2.7 of the official plan, the deck, dock, fire pit, and 2 sheds shall be removed or brought into compliance with zoning bylaw 2005-120. The lands are declared surplus. All in favor? Okay, carried. And next one.
Thank you. Mr. and Mrs. Was has made an application to purchase the shore road allowance in front of their property on Halliburton Lake. They wish to reconstruct their dwelling. The property has a dwelling, gazebo, a private cabin / garage, and a shed located on it. The location of the dwelling is recognized pursuant to the official plan. The applicant notes that the gazebo complies with the water setback. However, based on the site plan, pictures provided, and the orthophotography, staff have concerns whether that gazebo actually complies with minimum required setback. Therefore, as per section 3.2.7 of the official plan, staff recommend a condition that that gazebo be removed or brought into compliance. Through this process, a survey is required anyways. So when they obtain a survey, if that survey indicates that the gazebo actually, in fact, does comply, it will be permitted to, the gazebo will be permitted to remain in that location. The deck attached to the seasonal dwelling does not comply with the zoning bylaw. As per section 3.2.7, staff recommend a condition that it be removed or brought into compliance with the bylaw. The applicants have made a request and asked if the deck could be brought into compliance at the time they are completely reconstructing the dwelling. So staff have worded the condition in a way that it can be removed at that time. The property also has an open work order for the number of accessory buildings on the property, which exceed the permitted maximum. The bylaw enforcement officer has notified that he's been in contact with the applicants and continue to work with them to determine compliance with that work order. Staff request direction with regards to the gazebo, the attached deck, and seek approval from council to process the application. And I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Okay, any questions? Deputy Mayor Kennedy, go ahead.
Thanks, Jeff, for clearing up that it was in compliance, maybe not in compliance, and might be in compliance. A survey is going to correct all that. So thanks for clearing that up for me. Other than that, I think your department's doing a great job and bylaw is following up with it. So I don't really have any issues. You're doing a good job monitoring it. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, ditto, doing a great job. And you know that a lot of this is the trend, or people are buying a place like this. It's 50, 60 years old, and they're going to want to do a much nicer, newer place. But it's also a time to bring things into compliance. So that's great. So mover seconder then for this. Oh, I lost my pen. Oh, well, hang on. Oh, there we go. Okay. Glasses on, glasses off. Mover seconder. Councillor McKechnie and Councillor Donaldson. Be resolved that council approves for processing an application by Mr. and Mrs. Was to purchase a portion of the shore road allowance along the shore of Halliburton Lake in front of their property, part lot 18, concession 10, in the geographic township of Harborne. As per section 3.2.7 of the official plan, the gazebo is to be removed or brought into compliance with the zoning bylaw. The attached deck shall be brought into compliance prior to the issuance of a building permit for the dwelling, and the lands are declared surplus. All in favor? Okay, that's passed, carried. And LaFontaine.
Yes, thank you. Mr. LaFontaine and Miss Beta LaFontaine have submitted an application to purchase their shore road allowance on Little Kinesis Lake, and they wish to obtain a building permit for an addition to their dwelling. There's no record of a building permit for the shed and detached deck. In addition, they do not appear to comply with the zoning bylaw. Therefore, as per the official plan, staff recommend a condition that they be removed or brought into compliance. And staff request direction with regards to that shed and detached deck down by the shoreline, and their request to purchase the shore road allowance. Does council have any questions?
Questions? removed or brought into compliance is the line of the day. Councillor Smith.
Yeah, just to emphasize, the importance of drawing these into compliance. And I note again in the letter, the correspondence from the applicants here, they seem very much wanting to do this properly. And so our request to bring it into compliance is going to be, I think, welcomed at their side. And so we should demand that.
Okay, look for a mover seconder. Councillor Smith and seconded by Deputy Mayor Kennedy. Be it resolved that council approves for processing an application by Mr. LaFontaine and Ms. Beda LaFontaine to purchase a portion of the shore road allowance along the shore of Little Kinesis Lake in front of their property, Part Lot 20, Concession 6, Lot 77, Plan 493, in the geographic township of Havelock. As per section 3.2.7 of the official plan, the shed and detached deck shall be removed or brought into compliance with zoning bylaw 2005-120, and the lands are declared surplus. All in favor? Carried. Excuse me, is that it? No, one more. One more.
Last one. Mr. Krieber submitted an application to purchase the shore road allowance in front of his property on Redstone Lake. I apologize. In reviewing the agenda this morning, it appears we had attached the wrong site plan to that agenda item. However, it has been updated. So if you're looking at the agenda live, it should be updated. Staff have included the official plan policies in the staff report for council consideration. I think going forward, we will continue to do this just so that you have that policy guidance. As per section 3.2.7, council at its sole discretion can consider closing and conveying a shore road allowance that it abuts and is directly in front of a shoreline lot. The dwelling located on the property was built in 2001, and it does not comply with the minimum water setback and interior side lot line setback of the lot. It is not located on the shore road allowance, therefore staff recommend a condition that council direct the bylaw enforcement officer to review the dwelling's location in accordance with the bylaw. Other than that, staff request direction with that regards to the dwelling and that condition and approval to process the application. And if you have any questions, I'll try my best to answer them.
Questions for Jeff? Councillor Smith, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So Jeff, and we talked about this at the most recent Committee of Adjustment meeting. But in this one, as you said, it's built in 2001. How does a building that's been, completed so recently end up, not in compliance? Our building department would have obviously been out there doing inspection during the construction process. And now, 20 years after the fact, when a request is made for something else, we find that buildings not situated where it should have been. Is there anything about, our inspection process that we might need to improve? Or does a surveyor need to be brought in before construction and put stakes in the ground that everybody can look at? Or what needs to happen to avoid this type of problem in the future?
Well, historically, the municipality hasn't required surveyed measurements or a survey at the building permit process. And in defense of the building department, they are not professional surveyors. So they typically rely on the measurements and the site plans provided by the applicant. So in this instance, that's my understanding. There was a legal non-complying structure. It was reconstructed. However, once they obtained a survey, it did not meet the setback of the legal non-complying structure. So that's where they're starting to run into problems. So how to correct that in the future? In about 2007, through the variance process, we started including conditions that all approved variances be confirmed by an Ontario land surveyor. I also believe that the building department over the last 5 or 10 years has now required applicants to have the building location staked on the ground for buildings that are within a certain distance of a setback. So if you're wanting to build right at that minimum setback, then you do have to get it staked by a land surveyor. However, from about 2010 prior, that wasn't required. So there's going to be a lot of historic mistakes that are going to need to be corrected potentially.
Go ahead, Councillor Smith.
So, so Jeff, are you saying that you believe that the current processes, in other words, those that you have committed place since 2010, will avoid this type of problem in the future, or is there additional action that council should be considering now to, eliminate the possibility of additional future issues? I know we can't go back and fix yesterday's problems, but somehow we've got to get out of this cycle.
Yeah, I don't disagree. Before answering that, I'd like to have further discussion with the building department on exactly when they require those stakes to be put in the ground, just to see if that is going to rectify all these issues going forward. Obviously, a survey would be ideal, but I understand the council's historic position that you do need to balance the costs at and the time too, given the delay in obtaining a survey. So yeah, before answering that, I would like to sit down with the chief building official and maybe discuss with him when they require the building location to be staked on the ground, and to see whether that will fix the problem.
So
Right.
Jeff,
Madam
just-
Mayor, I think that would be an appropriate report back to council. This, as I said, has been an ongoing issue with the Committee of Adjustment items, and somehow, I mean, people are spending $1 million building a place, and the cost of a survey visit is hardly significant, relative to that kind of amount, and otherwise, these things are gonna go on forever.
right. Mallory, go ahead.
I was just gonna say that might be an appropriate report from the building department, as opposed to Jeff commenting on how the building department does it.
Yes, I think so.
Yeah.
And
It'll be
I
a
do
little
agree-
awkward for him.
Exactly. But generally, I do agree with Councillor Smith is, this isn't like the other properties that we've seen purchasing the shore road allowance, something that was built in 1957 and and we just say bring it into compliance. This, we issued a building permit. This is fairly recent. So I'm not sure what the resolution, Tamara, I see your hand up, but can I just make this comment? The resolution says, and further that council directs the bylaw enforcement officer to review dwellings location in accordance with the zoning bylaw. So what's the bylaw enforcement officer going to do if we need the survey anyway? So just to Jeff, what's the bylaw enforcement officer going to do?
That's a good question for him as well. I assume he would begin enforcement action, but I would defer that to the bylaw department. Because it's not located on the shore road allowance, I don't want to address it through the road closing process, and defer that to the bylaw department as the enforcement authority.
Tamara, you had your hand up?
Yeah, I was just going to reiterate that a lot of these are historical issues. And as Jeff noted, they are, when there's a questionable boundary now, they certainly are asking for more surveys, and it has been brought up and discussed with council several times in the past. And as to what Jeff said, there's also a balance. There's a time issue, lack of availability even for every lot to get a survey. If it's really clear that they're not encroaching on any boundaries or setbacks, but there's also an onus on the landowner to make sure that they've put it where they feel confident it belongs to, and they have the ability to go get that survey proactively themselves as well.
I just think there's a big difference between a dwelling built in 2001 and one built in 1957. It's a huge difference.
But yeah, as Jeff noted, though, prior to 2010, there were no surveys required for anything. So we're saying we're cleaning up historical for the most part.
Okay, I still have questions with the resolution saying what the bylaw officer is going to do. Deputy Mayor Kennedy?
Just a point of clarification, Jeff. Did you say that this was a reconstruction of an original cottage in that location?
I might have to go back and look at that. I apologize, because the key map attached to the agenda item was for the previous application. That's the property I was quickly reviewing. The structure, yeah, it appears to be first assessed in 2001. I'll have to go back and look at that. For council's consideration today, I think they can still move forward with the road closing application. Again, this, if council chooses to direct the bylaw enforcement officer to review this is something he'll do a deeper dive into.
So Tamara, maybe you can help me out with that, or why, what would the bylaw officer do without a survey? Without us requesting the landowner have a survey to see if, is it the deck? It's not the dwelling itself. Is it
I
the
guess
front
it
deck?
depends. I'm not familiar enough with the file, but I think it needs more discussion, like Jeff said, between Jeff and the building department to review potentially.
Jeff and then Mallory?
Yeah, through the enforcement process, just from what I understand, the applicants would be given the opportunity to apply for a minor variance to bring it into conformance prior to more strong arm tactics anyways. Just to give you that kind of, that information. I think that's probably how it would proceed.
Okay, Mallory, did you want to?
I was just gonna ask Jeff for today's problem and what we can do today. Does it make sense to remove the second line and just approve for processing the application, and then further work can be done in the background with staff on the second line? Or
Yeah, either or. I still think we can go ahead with both, because really the way that it's worded is the council's just directing the bylaw officer to review that situation. So if it's determined that it complies, then there's no enforcement case to take forward. If there is a legal matter or an enforcement issue or a compliance issue, then they could choose to take that forward. However, I do defer that to council.
Okay, so they have not had the survey yet to show the 30-meter setback.
No, we do have a survey. And it shows
Oh,
the deck's about 15.9 meters, so the dwelling looks to be about 18.6 meters. So my understanding is that it probably said it was supposed to be 20 meters on the building permit, and now it's at 18.6.
okay, well, it does say to review dwellings location in accordance with the zoning bylaw. So we'll move the process forward for the application and leave the resolution as it is. Okay. Councillor Smith, go ahead.
I just want to confirm that the council is receiving a report from the building department on the process going forward, because as Jeff has pointed out, this applicant could make an application to the Committee of Adjustment. And the Committee of Adjustment, and I was lectured in the last meeting when I said, you know, our building department doesn't actually have a survey crew and go out to confirm the building is being constructed in the right place. And committee members told me, well, we should be doing that because, you know, we're allowing people to build places where they shouldn't be built. And whether this is 18.6 or 20 meters matters. Otherwise, we wouldn't be going through the Committee of Adjustment process. And so I believe that we need to be sure that our department can be confident that it is getting structures in the right location. And the building department could report back to council in that regard. And if there's recommendations that might change the process, demand a survey in advance or whatever, I don't know what it might be, but we ought to at least have a chance to hear that and judge whether the changes are required. So will we be getting that report from the building department?
I'll ask Tamara. That's her.
Yeah, I'll have to have a talk with them after the holidays.
Okay. So mover seconder for this file, if I could. Deputy Mayor Kennedy and Councillor Wood Roberts. Be it resolved that council approves for processing an application by Mr. Krieber. To purchase a portion of the shore road allowance along the shore of Redstone Lake in front of his property, part lot 29, concession 12, lot 9, plan 619 in the geographic township of Guilford. The lands are declared surplus. And further, that council directs the bylaw officer, enforcement officer to review dwellings location in accordance with the zoning bylaw 2005-120. All in favor? Okay, that's carried. And then the other direction, Tamara will carry forward to the building department. Okay, so that's it for planning. We've just got minutes and recommendations from standing committees. Thanks, Jeff. So we have the committee of the whole minutes as presented here. Any questions or comments on the minutes there? If not, I'll look for a mover and a seconder. Councillor McKechnie, Councillor Clark. Be it resolved that council acknowledges receipt of the draft minutes from the December 7th, 2021 Committee of the Whole as information. All in favor? Okay, carried. And lastly, we have the draft Glebe Park and Museum Committee minutes. Any questions or comments on those? Councillor Smith, go ahead.
Thank you. The Glebe Park minutes mentioned that they're preparing kind of an impact statement and comments regarding the proposed student residence. And I was wondering if I just wanted to confirm that those comments will come to council before they're officially registered, given this is a committee of ours, as opposed to an independent group, if you like.
We just exited Jeff from the meeting, but he's been keeping track and having communication with Jim Blake and others. So yes, we should be able to see their comments. I can't say for certain whether they would be prior to, because of the timing of the Glebe Park Committee meeting, to when that file comes forward to council. So we'll have to ask Jeff that when he's back on screen.
Yeah, it just seemed to me that given this is a committee of ours, one appointed by council, it would be appropriate for us to see their comments and have a chance to, assess the comments, if you like, prior to them, going public and becoming part of the review process for the student resident.
And we may or may not actually have them. They'll definitely be included when the public meeting for that file comes forward, but I can't guarantee that they'll come to council first before that. Jeff also indicated that to each person, that if there was any specific comments from an organization that, and it didn't flow through the Glebe Park Committee, that they could be sending a separate comments as well. So, and I'm thinking that is aiming to be for a February public meeting. So that's where we'd be at. And I don't know the timing of the Glebe Park, but nonetheless, it was well received from the very get-go. If it's comments, it might be just on minute things, some lighting, some small things. So I can't, like I say, I can't say for certain with Jeff off the screen. So anything else in the Glebe Park Committee meeting? Sure, we're all waiting for snow, so this cross-country skiing and tobogganing and snowshoeing can get going. Anyway, I will look for a mover and a seconder to receive those minutes if I could. Councillor Clark and Councillor Donaldson. Be resolved that council acknowledges receipt of the draft minutes from the December 2nd, 2021 Glebe Park and Museum Committee as information. All in favor? Okay, that's carried. Before we carried that, but I wasn't able to attend that meeting. I was actually at a real live out of town meeting that day, but Councillor Wood Roberts and Councillor Donaldson, did you want to comment on anything there to Councillor Smith's questions?
I just had a few concerns about how it's going to impact the trails and lighting and stuff, and just to get more of a firm idea of what things are going to go exactly where and how that's going to impact their activities. So legitimate, concerns and questions. That's about it for right now.
Okay. Pretty exciting project. Would be really wonderful to see this getting going and an actual shovel in the ground in 2022. I am waiting still for pricing. There was some minor changes before I wanted to call a meeting, so I'll be getting a meeting together with the ski club group and myself and maybe Deputy Mayor Kennedy back, and we had whenever to look at some preliminary plans that are more reasonable and I think is a fine design for a garage. So we'll move that forward, and I think basically we're gonna have to get going on that sooner than we think, which is a good news thing. So that concludes the open portion of our meeting. So what we will do is we'll move into closed, but while we're within closed, we may end up taking a lunch break. We'll see how our closed session goes so far. So we do have one delegation in closed. So at this time, I'm going to look for a mover and a seconder to go into closed. Councillor Donaldson, and seconded by Councillor Wood Roberts. Be resolved that council adjourn its regular meeting at 10:47 a.m. to discuss matters pursuant to section 239 of the Municipal Act 2001 as amended pertaining to personal matters about identifiable individuals, including municipal or local board employees, a pending disposition of land in the township of Dysart, known as Wagon Wheel subdivision, a proposed acquisition of land in the township of Dysart, County Road 21 property, and a proposed disposition of lands in the township of Dysart, Dudley, and Guilford, disposition of an original original road allowance. All in favor? Okay, so we are in close, that's carried. And if you need to run and do a quick errand while we turn our screens off and get switched over closed, go right ahead and turn your cameras off. And we'll see you in a few minutes. Okay. Mark, do you need? So we're back in open session and we have no report from closed at this time. So I'll just look to see if there's notice of motion. Councillor Smith.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd given a copy of this to the clerk, but as I mentioned earlier, when we were getting a report from Public Works, I had a number of folks living in West Guilford expressing concern about the ability to walk and obviously desire of that for people is increased due to COVID. And Canisius Lake Road around West Guilford is extremely busy. A lot of heavy truck traffic. We're delighted to have the advantages of Halliburton Horse, but it also means there's a lot of big logging trucks up and down that road, chip trucks and so forth that don't leave people feeling very safe when they're walking up and down Canisius Lake Road. Those in the north end of West Guilford could easily make their way to Green Lake Road, and it's better than some for walking. And those in the southern part of West Guilford, would like to walk Nyla Road, but it's not an easy spot to get to. As we discussed earlier, the asphalt shoulder on the west side of Canisius Lake Road, where the interlocking brick wall is, that's just snow storage during the winter. The east side of Canisius Lake Road is right now an open ditch that sort of runs from the parking lot of the West Guilford Shopping Center, or Bill's, down to the culvert that goes under Nyla Road and into the lake there. And so I was hoping we could get a report from our own staff to consider what might be options. Easy for me to say we could throw a culvert in that open ditch. And, we don't need a formal sidewalk there, but just a flat area that people could walk far enough away from the road that they would feel comfortable. And there are the grants now with the active transportation funding that, got us, I think it was $40,000 for the pathway in town. So I'd like to get a report from our Dysart staff regarding options to improve the safety and potential grant concepts for pedestrians who want to walk in the West Guilford area.
Okay, so keep in mind it's county road. So do you have an actual resolution? As a notice, you've done a lot of preamble there, but is there a resolution?
A resolution is council requests a report from Dysart staff regarding options and potential grants from the Active Transportation Fund to improve safety for pedestrians seeking to walk from the West Guildford Shopping Center down to Nyla Road, period.
So Mallory, you've received that?
Yeah, I only reworded it to say return to a future committee meeting, but that's the gist of what it says.
Okay. Okay, so
Yeah.
the notice of motion has been received and Counselor Smith has spoken to it as well. We need a seconder to move it forward. Counselor Clark? All in favor? Okay, so that does carry. So we'll see that at a future meeting. Okay, any other notice
Thank
of
you very
motion? Yeah, any other, if not, I'll look to have a mover seconder to confirm proceedings of today. Counselor Donaldson, seconded by Deputy Mayor Kennedy. Be resolved that bylaw number 2021-96 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the regular council meeting held on December 21st, 2021 be read a first, second, and third time, passed, signed, and the corporate seal attached here too. All in favor? That's carried. And lastly, a motion to adjourn. Okay, is that you, Counselor Clark? I saw big hands. Everybody's ready to adjourn. This is very, very late in the calendar year for us to have meetings. So I just want to thank staff for this. And as we know, our procedural bylaw has changed that for next year. So it should be a little bit easier, but it's late to have a council meeting. So I know we worked right through lunch. Some of us were able to get a little snack. So I wish you all a very Merry Christmas, a healthy and happy, safe holiday. And I look forward to a mover and a seconder to adjourn. Everybody, I did see Counselor Clark and Counselor McKechnie. Be resolved, the council adjourn its regular meeting held on December 21st, 2021 at 1:45 p.m. All in favor? Okay, that's carried. Take care and we'll see you in 2022, if not before. And let's hope next year's a little bit better. Okay, take care. Bye now.
Merry Christmas,
Merry
everybody.
Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, everybody. Eat lots and eat slow.
Okay.
Have a great holiday. Merry Christmas.
Yeah, bye. Merry Christmas, everybody.